Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we'll go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, so wonderful to see you, and I'm happy to take a trip south of the border today. We're talking Sicario.
Yeah, can't believe you're down here already, right? Just to come and spend time with me on a very questionable journey down to the southern border.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, but
We'll talk about it.
This is a big one, I think. I mean,
I think that this. Okay, I'm gonna put my cards on the table. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
I think that this is the first great Denis Villeneuve movie we're talking about.
I would probably throw Enemy in there.
Yeah, I like Enemy a lot, but I like this one more.
This feels like him leveling up a little bit.
This is like, hey, I'm an adult and I'm working with the best. And I think this is when he starts looking at a more epic scope. Right?
Yeah, this is where he starts making movies at a scale that he is very, very interested in.
Yeah. And the ideas become a little grander than just what's on the page. Wouldn't you say? Like, this isn't this movie is not as how would you put it? It's not as surface level as something like Prisoners, even though clearly on the surface.
And again, I would say Enemy is certainly not that, but
yeah.
But as far as a kind of more traditional Hollywood movie, this has more on its mind, I think, than Prisoners does. But this is really where he becomes kind of a master of immersion.
Yeah.
I was so even watching it at home, I was so struck by how this thing it overwhelms you at times. It is such an intense experience. And again, it is that tonal control, which I think is one of the most important jobs a director has, is to set a consistent feel for a movie. And Villeneuve is as good as anybody right now at that. Whether you like that tone or not is a different story, but he makes you feel how he wants you to feel, whether you like that or not, so be it. But he's so good at that.
Did you watch this in the theater when it came out?
I did.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I was like, oh, I think this guy's really good at his job.
Yeah.
Because I remember
a very
Prisoners.
Important movie for me.
I think you said that about Enemy.
Yeah, I did. I'd say this one even more so.
Okay. Is this when you fell in love with Emily Blunt? Or that was years before?
I would have to look at her filmography, which we're gonna do.
Don't worry. Well, while you're looking that up, Jay, Sicario, of course, is directed by Denis Villeneuve, written by this guy named Taylor Sheridan, which I assume we're going to talk. We're going to talk about that.
Oh,
yeah, well, we're going to talk about that.
First note on the top of my page: Dawn of Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, film stars Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, Benicio Del Toro. Movie, of course, is as follows: an idealistic FBI agent is enlisted by a government task force to aid the escalating war against drugs at the border area between the U.S. and Mexico. That is the most basic way to describe what happens in this damn movie.
Where's the lie?
It's not. I mean, it's not, but it's a little bit, I think, more complicated. And I'm gonna say a phrase. I think it's a little bit more fucked up than just that basic kind of.
Nah,
it's
pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty just like that's what happens, and nothing more. All right, then.
This is PG, right?
Yeah, rate, review, and subscribe, and let's get out of here. Jay, what do you think of Sicario?
So this movie for me, I remember walking out of the theater the first time I saw it, and it is to me just such a technical achievement. I think as a person who really emphasizes kind of aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like top tier. I mean, I remember the first moment that really kind of wowed me watching this, outside of the first scene, which is just so intense and overwhelming, but just from a technical perspective. are the overhead shots of the SUVs driving through Mexico. And in my mind, I don't know why, but in my mind that shot lasted like 45 seconds. In reality, it lasts like 15. But I just remember in the theater being like, man, because I was in my early 20s, so it was I certainly didn't have kind of the full grasp on cinematic language and film history and film techniques that I do now. Not that I have any true level of expertise, but I certainly know more than I
Look
did
at you
then.
putting your cards on the table, humble bragger. Look at
Yeah,
you.
I'm not. I deflated my opinion of myself there. I'm far from an expert, but I saw that and I was just like, that's a shot that you don't see in a run of the mill movie. And then there's just one of those every 5 minutes in this movie. And it's just such a compelling experience, which is doubly so in the movie theater, where this movie is so loud. This might be Johan Johansson's best score. I think that's certainly possible. Roger Deakins' cinematography is out of this world good. I just think about, when they're going to raid the tunnels later in the film and that sunset. And then when they choose to use thermal cameras for the actual movie, it's just like the decisions being made. You just see the thought put into this film that makes it so unique. And also, I don't think it's the most narratively propulsive, interesting movie I've ever seen. It is so immersive, but I think the first 35 minutes are masterful, like straight up some of my favorite stuff ever.
Hmm.
Then when you start getting into kind of the mechanics of the story, it gets a little convoluted. The bureaucracy gets a little stale a little bit, I think. And Sheridan, I don't think fully lands the plane from a script perspective. I think the very, very end is very compelling. But as far as kind of the mission that they bring Kate on, the Emily Blunt's character, it's not terribly compelling. And there's also Denis Villeneuve loves to kind of do this interwoven narrative thing. I think the intercut sequences with the Mexican cop
Yeah.
are they can deflate the movie a little bit. They can undercut some of the tension, which is so effectively realized. And that stuff, in an effort to kind of underline the themes of the movie, I think can kind of take you out of that at certain points. But fantastic film. I don't, when I saw it in the theater, I was like, that is one of my favorite movies. It is
Yeah.
not that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but it is still such a joy to watch this movie. I think it is. I feel like I am in good hands watching this movie, certainly
Mm.
from a technical side.
Feels like a just a movie that you come out with and you ride a high off of this movie.
That is how you feel when you watch
Yeah.
it for the first time.
You are just you immerse yourself
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of deplorable world that we currently live in with it still. I mean, um I think, Jay, that everything you said is correct. Aesthetically speaking, this is when I think Villeneuve figured out, man, I can work with Johan Johansson, Roger Deakins, and editor Joe Walker and just really nail this sucker. This movie looks incredible. Like, it's beyond just like like we joked about in the last episode, like the sort of traffic Soderbergh look that he had in Enemy going on. And, obviously he started working with Deakins on Prisoners. So they built up a good relationship. But like, when I think, and I love Blade Runner and I love at least aesthetically the work that Deakins does in Prisoners, maybe not the overall film, but the work that he does.
Mm-hmm.
This, though, is the best collaboration that Deakins and Villeneuve have had.
I'll flip a coin between this and Blade Runner, but
I think there are sections I absolutely love in Blade Runner. I mean, all the stuff in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's just something from the get-go, the way that this looks. And I think the Arrival score is probably Johan Johansson's best, but this is really close.
This one is just so intense.
It really is. They're yeah, that one, I mean, they're different, right? They're very different. And we'll talk about Arrivals next week, but there's even like a segment I think in Arrival where it's just basically the score that drives it home.
Yeah, I mean that certainly adds tension too, and also I assume you're talking kind of about the end where it's whoa,
what a flex. But I think to me the score is at its best here. There's that sequence when they're going into Juarez and the 4 cars are going through the checkpoints, right? And you can
the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, you just feel like it's like a heart pound, but you're like shit is about to hit the fan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a simple extraction. Yet when they come back, it's far from simple than that. And I think
who could have done a better job with that extraction?
Who?
Tyler Rake from Extraction.
Sure, I still have not seen
film.
I've still not seen those movies. I really should watch them.
Well, we'll do a whoever directed those series soon.
I was going to say it was the Russos, but they just produced it.
Yeah. Some of the best stuff the Russos have ever done.
You think would those be good on a plane? Because I'm going to be doing some traveling this year. Do you think that would be good on a plane? Is there a lot of violence?
When you're watching something on a plane, I am always thinking about other people seeing what I'm watching on a plane.
Oh, okay. And it's not like
it's supremely violent.
Okay. Well, I think that I'm fine with violence as much as I'm not as much like if a movie has sex in it, that I'm not going to watch that on a plane.
Such an American.
Oh, so you're like putting on like Shame on a plane?
Yeah, I'm watching 50 Shades. Although 50 Shades is such a chaste movie.
Yeah, that's like safe.
That was the most.
That's like
disappointing.
What a tease!
False advertising.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get into bondage. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Fucking PG.
I didn't even see the next 2
until they were on Max. From a story perspective, it may not all land, but damn it if it's not interesting. It's interesting and it's compelling. I think that watching it the first time, I remember watching it from the first time, I was so damn frustrated. I think I still am frustrated because this stuff happens all the time. They bring in this person, and a lot of this movie is through Kate's perspective, Emily Blunt's perspective. She's introducing us to this world that is essentially run and controlled by these corrupt men on both sides. It's the Wild West, essentially. And I think she may be written a little too naively, but still Blunt's able to, I think Blunt's really good in this, by the way.
She's really good.
She's really good. And
it's a tough role, actually.
I think it really is, because I know that Sheridan, and I know that this movie gets a big bad rap for his depiction of female characters.
This movie has held up as far as critical regard, right? I know there are some.
There were some detractors. Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of detractors. I think, there's controversy of like how wars is depicted, how
I'm sure
this is all sort of simplistic, and there's a bunch of stuff like that. And then also there was pushback at sort of the treatment of Blunt. I mean, the sort of the Barenthal scenes with her, especially when the depiction of violence on her, the vulnerable state that they leave her kind of in, the way that this world kind of chews her up. A lot of people had a problem with it. I think the complete nature of the
point of the movie.
I know. No, I understand. I'm just telling you what I was reading up on this week, and I think that they're wrong. I think that you're right. I think it's the point of the movie. The point of the movie is it's not made for
People need to learn how to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, they do.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But it's a movie about not being leaving your optimism at the door. Because there is no such thing as optimism in this world. It's either kind of the Wild West or sit in a circle and watch the world go around like she is in her day job as like a special agent with her partner Daniel Kaluuya. By the way, I always forget that he's in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is like right before Get Out. This is like 2 years before Get Out. So this is right before. Oh, he's really good in it. But I mean, I want to talk about him. I think Brolin's great.
Brolin is amazing in this movie.
He's incredible in this movie. He's just like laid back. He's got that Brolin smile of his because he knows he's getting away with everything. But this movie is really Benicio Del Toro's film. This movie,
and he's not in the movie very much at all.
No, this is very much like a Hannibal Lecter.
A little bit. His presence looms in every scene.
Yeah, it's the thing of like he is such a supporting character, Anton Chigurh, where he's there in the background or he's in scenes, but he has that lasting impression even when he's not there. And there's a possibility that at any moment he can jump into a scene because he's tracking her at certain points and following her and shit like that. You know what I mean? So there's always the threat of him there. I think he's incredible in this movie.
He is.
I think that this is up there with his best performances, if maybe not his best.
We're going down the Benicio hole.
And you gotta kind of have to. He's an actor I'm just completely fascinated with. But the problem with the sequel is then they focus on him all the way.
Well, it's kind of
it doesn't work because you don't have a Kate, you don't have a blunt conduit to kind of, because they kind of work off each other, even though he's clearly a step ahead of her in every sense of the way.
Well, the thing that this movie does that's so impressive is it does give you this sense of humanity. There is a certain part of you that is rooting for this guy to do the most despicable things imaginable.
And honestly, when you think about it, it's justified given the backstory and what happens to his family. I mean, no, I'm just saying, if you want to justify it, you can be like, well, I mean, what he's doing is
eye for an eye, I suppose.
Yeah. And also in this world that they've created, where it is very violent and there is no feelings.
Well, he has been just completely rewired as
he's just consumed by rage and vengeance.
He is
vengeance.
He is the possible end point for the Emily Blunt character if she doesn't have one. The revenge that she is seeking is for an act that is not as personally devastating as the one that Benicio's character has in this film.
No, but it's also, almost I mean, it's almost like her point is like, you just want to get some more bad guys. You want to get the people responsible for something like this and all the work you've been doing. And it's a lie, because it's like, you're never going to get those guys. That's not the point of any of those. They need somebody to sign off on this shit.
They have basically, they repeat the same lines essentially at one point, where Kate, when she's asked if she'll volunteer for this task force, this joint task force, she says, will this give me the opportunity to get the people that are responsible for this today? And they're like, yes, absolutely. They're lying. They just need someone from her.
From the FBI.
What is she? FBI?
She's FBI. Yeah. They need somebody.
They need somebody from the FBI to
sign up on their task force and shit,
so that they can operate in America.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, essentially, I mean, yes, Brolin's in CIA, but they basically, to do all the task force and all the paperwork and everything, they need
and the resources. And
they need somebody.
They need a patsy.
Exactly. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie is early on And it's exactly what you're talking about. When Victor Garber, who's just, I mean, we've talked about him on Dark Waters, and now we're talking about him. Victor Garber, just an amazing character actor, by the way.
I was watching this with my wife. First thing she says was, "Oh, that's so nice that he came up from the Titanic."
Yeah, I grew up with. I mean, yes, he was in Titanic. I grew up with him watching Alias when I was younger. And
of course.
Too. But when he looks at Kate and he's like, "Are you sure? Wink, wink. Don't do this. Wink, wink."
Mm-hmm.
Right, and the deflated face when she says yes on it. This isn't the first time this has happened to him, possibly with a recruit or people in his department. And when she comes back to him after she's pissed off at what happens at the border, seeing what Brolin, the sort of cowboy mentality that Brolin has, and whatever the hell kind of tactics that Del Toro's doing, what does he do to her? He's like, "There's nothing I can do. You signed your fate the minute you walked out of that room early, like an hour before into this movie." It's like, what do you want us to do? Go down like a congressional hearing kind of crap? It's not going to happen. You're stuck in this. Sign the paperwork and essentially move forward.
Yeah,
There's
and one of the very telling parts they have in that early scene where they're talking about this mission that they're going to go on is they recommend maybe the Kaluuya character would be good for the job. And they're like, "Ooh, no lawyers. No. We just need somebody who we can at least trick into just taking orders for a little while."
Yeah, then, no moral compass, essentially. Nobody that will question things.
Yes, no one who is inclined to question an order.
Yeah.
Which Emily Blunt early on in the film is not.
But it's also just a massive, I think, manipulation too, from that point of, I think that they know that they can get away with more as these really terrible men if they have a woman signing on to this rather than another guy. And I think that's a fascinating thing. Like the
gender politics
of this movie are
interesting. They're not fully realized.
They're not like 100%. Like, I don't think Kate is fully fleshed out enough. And I do think that there's times where she's just like, "What was that?" And then there's a couple of moments where she doesn't have a moment where she finally like says she says this is bullshit, but it's not, she doesn't think more than just like like a rookie would. Like, Kaluuya is supposed to be the rookie. She's supposed to be a veteran of this. To be
she's kind of a veteran grunt though.
Yeah, but to be that naive, that's where I think the movie kind of suffers. Like, at a certain point, you're getting played. How are you going to play it? You know what I mean? And I think the movie kind of pushes her aside by the end, but that's just the mechanics of the screenplay, and it doesn't dive deeper into the gender politics than it should, because I think that that's a fascinating point to start.
Yeah.
Where, why do they pick her over Kaluuya? I think that it's exactly what you're saying. It's to get away with more. It's to question more. It's to overpower her. It's to manipulate her. All that stuff from the beginning is great, but it's not fully dived into. And that's the problem with Sheridan. Somebody else, I think, could have. And
we kind of talked about in our Enemy episode, or at least I posited that even though that movie is all about men, it also has a lot to say about the way that women are treated. And then you look at Polytechnique and Encendies, there's clearly a part of Villeneuve who is really interested in exploring that side of stories, which I think is unique in movies like this. This movie feels like it should be maybe his biggest exploration of that, but it very much is not. There's one moment towards the end of the film when she finally just loses it and punches Josh Brolin in the face, and Brolin kind of just drags her off to the side, and one of the other army guys says something to Kaluuya, because Kaluuya is like, "Oh, I gotta go help her," and the other army guy just says, or the other CIA guy just says, "Hey man, let this happen. Like, Brolin's going to assault her, like sexually assault her." It is kind of the implication I got in that moment.
I thought
but
he was
that
just gonna
doesn't
be.
end up happening.
No, I didn't.
See,
I didn't think it was that. I thought he was just gonna beat the shit out of her.
that's interesting. See, I thought it was it. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen too many movies or something. I don't know, but
I mean, she almost. I mean, she almost literally gets choked to death.
yeah.
And everything.
I mean, she gets
Early
treated
on.
pretty poorly.
Yeah, Barenthal, man, what a bad guy.
Great actor though.
Corrupt as shit. Yeah, he's
Bernthal
actually.
Bernthal is one of my guys.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't get like a lead part. I feel like he would.
Well, he did that HBO show, which I still need to watch.
Oh, the David Simon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out at a weird time. You know, just wrong time for something like that to come out.
Yeah.
And but I heard he was good on it. I don't know. David Simon's shows are notorious for you watch them and they don't get any awards traction or anything because for some reason I don't know if they're too smart or they somebody at the Emmys have something out for David Simon, but his shows are incredible. Watch The Wire if you haven't, folks. But anyway, that's an interesting take, Jay. I mean, I agree with you. At that point, she's just fed up with it, right? And I mean, getting shot in the Kevlar is not probably any better, right?
No, and they really sell how hard or how much that hurts.
Yeah, but also at the same along the same lines. By that point in the movie, she should know what's going on, right? She should be smart enough to figure it out. It makes her feel like by the end of the movie, it makes her feel a little dumb. I think she's
no, I disagree with that because there isn't anything to figure out. The only thing that they're figuring out that she's figuring out is that their entire job is to stir the pot.
Yeah.
They have such nondescript goals kind of with what they're doing. Yes, they have a target, but really what is their job? To agitate the situation.
True, but she should know that at that point, right? And be not surprised or even upset about it. I don't think she can be in any way upset about it. At a certain point, it's like you signed your life away to this. Just, I don't know, accept it.
But it's not like she could just leave, though.
No, she can't. But it's like a real person would just be like, there's nothing I can do. So when she punches Brolin, it's almost like once again, she feels like how she was when she got out of the car in Juarez, right? It's the same scene almost. And you sit there and you go, it's almost like you're not learning from what he's literally saying.
I think she's definitely different at that moment. I mean, she's a little broken by that point.
Yeah.
By the end.
But she's
it's like releasing the pressure release valve that has just been building and building and building and building.
But I guess also, Reggie, played by Daniel Kaluuya, is like, we can just go home. We don't need to worry about this anymore. You sign the paperwork, and she's still so curious as to what all this leads to. When you know what it leads to, he said it to her face many, many times. It's that curiosity is just continuing to kill the cat. And, I think by the end, the final scene between her and Benicio, her and Alejandro, I think that's perfect scene. I think the relationship between, I thought that Del Toro and Blunt had more screen time when I first saw it.
Together?
Yeah. And when I was on the rewatch, I was like, oh, they interact like 3 times and that's it. Like she interacts more with Brolin than she does him. It almost feels like there was a scene missing between them, maybe in the middle of the movie. This time going around where, Brolin's all smoke and mirrors with her, right?
Yeah,
but Alejandro,
Brolin's so good.
He's so good. He's just like smiling and saying some bullshit thing, and that's how they get to the next scene. But Alejandro's giving her the basic truth, and it feels like this movie is missing a scene where he's just telling her point blank, try not to understand it, but feel it. Give her the old Tenet.
He's pulling a Tenet.
Give her the old Tenet. Stop trying to figure out what this fucking puzzle is and just accept it because you're already in the shit. You're already in it. And I feel like it's missing that one scene to connect everything through. But it doesn't ruin the film. I'm not trying to complain about the film or anything. I think that's just for me, from that whole storyline and in Kate's perspective, it's missing one thing that takes it over the top. It's still compelling enough, I think, for me all the way through. But when you get to that point at the end of the film and she's with Alejandro, it would be a good callback to then that scene. And that's where and it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Sheridan does leave a little bit of the meat on the bone. And I think that he could have tapped into that more. But then there's so much stuff that he taps, and him and Villeneuve tap into in terms of, I think, the politics, I think in terms of the tension, I think in terms of the urgency. I think all of that is fully realized. From that point of an exercise, this movie is fully realized. The dangers of what they're up against. That's fully set up.
Let's talk about this movie's politics. I don't think it has very many.
No, it's very it's very cut and dry.
But it doesn't really have an opinion. I mean, I guess
no, I think if
you want to say the bottom line opinion, I understand people having gripes with the way that Juarez is represented, but the whole point of the cross-cutting is that the city of Juarez and the U.S. military are one and the same.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of it.
Well, Taylor
Sheridan is not the most
subtle,
philosophically complex writer of all time.
But also too, I mean, Jay, I'm 31 years old. You're 32 years old. How many politicians have run in our lifetime on the promise of fixing the southern border? And they do this, and they do the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. It is at a certain point, it's just nauseating to even hear somebody bring anything up, especially when they're part of the problem. And so this movie, the one thing you can say about this movie's politics is it takes disruption to get shit done, because complacency and doing it by the book and all this different stuff. And I know that sounds basic, but it's for this topic, it's actually not far off, because we hear the same shit, either build a wall or leave it as is. There's no gray area. And that's where this movie wants to lie in. It wants to lie in the gray, the morally gray. And I think that alone is interestingly enough. And then weirdly, this movie was made in 2015. It's only since gotten more heightened because of our own, everyday politics and what's going down at the southern border. And also living here in Texas, this is in every election cycle, every political cycle occurrence topic that is brought up. And it's infuriating, because as someone that is Mexican American, and I watch this movie and I go, I'm not saying we need to go to this extreme, but at least they're trying something. Shit, we're not even trying anything anymore.
We're on different sides of the fence on this one. So probably a poor choice of words.
No,
but,
it's okay.
I
get what you're saying.
I think what you're saying about, you have to operate a little bit outside of the rule book to get stuff done. I think they're operating outside of the rule book because they're being incentivized to make sure that this never fully resolves itself.
No. Right? Yeah,
and
no.
Benicio Del Toro, one of their most valuable assets, is operating independently and working to get revenge.
Yeah.
A lot more than to fix this problem.
Yeah. It's a lot, but that's the thing. And that's what's interesting about the film's politics. It's all a lie, right? Because every time a politician says that they want to fix the border or they want to fix the drug problems in this country, right? We always know that there's something else that they actually really want to do. So this movie, like you're saying, Jay, when you're doing the mirroring, it's no different than anybody in a suit. People in suits,
Well, that's what
wearing
Brolin.
ties.
That's what Brolin is pretty much.
Yeah. Well, he's wearing flip flops, which those
He's wearing flops.
They look comfortable, but you know what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to make it sound like I'm not sounding like an idiot here, but they're doing it. They're doing
of this stuff
exactly, and
they're doing the things that people are ordering them to do, but they're not allowed to say that they're ordering people to do.
Exactly, and I don't think. But then again, anytime also too, this goes back, I think, to Kate, and what I think that that's interesting is what she's seeing, and through us as the audience, we're seeing this too, is like, yes, okay, you want something done, you want us to shake the trees and move stuff around, also to get this issue resolved, cool. But then when you bring in the personal, and when you then bring in the morally corrupt as well too, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen, because ultimately at the end of the day, any issue, the world's just there's too much money involved, too many people involved, there's too much personal involved for anything to get done. And so for me, when I watch this movie, every single time I go, yeah, they're going to try to upset something and they're going to try to do it, but ultimately at the end, they're going to be just like everybody else. They're going to do it for themselves rather than for the greater good, and the greater good always is going to fall apart. The issue is never going to get resolved. That's why I think you talked about the sort of the cop and his family in Juarez, right? That's interesting to me. I know that you think that it derails it. I didn't feel like it derailed it too much.
Thematically, it's a big part of the point, but
yeah, but structurally, I don't think
experientially it kind of pulls me out, because I think the thing this movie has going for it above all else, I don't think this is a particularly thematically complex movie.
I don't think so, but I think it's fascinating enough to talk about.
There's definitely stuff to talk about, but for me, when I put this movie on, I am like, wash over me, freaking turn the lights off, blast the volume, just I am putty in your hands for the next 2 hours.
And all the music and everything. Yeah. So,
and so that stuff to me is not as important when I'm watching it. And that's just a different way of watching the movie. I definitely can say, all right. And I mean, I kind of did it this time. I took more notes on everything that the film is trying to do from a thematic standpoint. And I understand what it's trying to do. I don't think it is particularly insightful, but I get it.
No, I'm not saying that this is going to solve the crisis happening here in between these two countries. And I call it a crisis because it's something that's been going on for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, and it's getting to a point where there needs to be actual resolution rather than just talking points. And so I guess the best way to say this, Jay, is that people at a certain point, when they get fed up with this, they want something done. But if you don't fully understand what that something is, right, then you're putting it in the hands of people that are morally corrupt. Like, I think Brolin. Like,
oh yeah,
somebody like Del Toro, like Alejandro, who is not looking out for anybody but themselves. And they say that, yes, I'll get that done for you. And then the aftermath of this, which is not particularly explored in something like Sicario, Day of the Soldado, I think, nearly enough, because what happens here at the end of this, it can either have two effects, right? One, Alejandro kills, what's his name? Diaz. Kills Diaz, right? And it sends a ripple effect across Mexico and the cartels. And things get escalated to a point where they can't control it anymore, and they've
Mm-hmm.
upset a tree. Like they shook
There's
the
an
tree,
imbalance,
and the forest is rumbling, right? Yeah. Or nothing happens because Diaz is just a guy, and they put somebody else in there, and it keeps going. It's one or two things.
Next man up.
Next man up, right? And the sequel does not explore that. And that's why I hate the sequel, because it sits there kind of on the edge of both and not really wanting to dive deeper into the actual interesting idea that is laid at the end of this movie. And what's so interesting is like, okay, you did this. What you did the cause. Now what's the effect of it?
I
the movie does not look at that.
I kind of like the sequel.
I think the sequel is it pales in comparison.
Oh, it's not nearly as successful, no. And I don't disagree with you that narratively and thematically it's not, I don't think, very successful. But again, it is an experience for me, whereas this is a descent into this world of crazy tension and corruption. That movie is so grimy, and you want to talk about morally gray. That one's kind of morally black. I mean, that movie is so
that movie is
dire and
that
grimy.
That movie essentially is just like, our world's fucked up. Let's just.
That movie makes you feel like you need a shower.
I
kind of appreciate that in a movie. This one, Sicario doesn't really make me feel that way because it has that very clean look to it.
Yeah, I think that I think the sequel, it's meant to look.
It looks grimier.
Looks darker. But then, I mean,
oh man, that was shot by Dariusz Wolski. I did not know that.
Yeah, Wolski,
great cinematographer.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Wolski's done what? He's done a lot of.
He did the Pirates movies.
He did the Pirates movies. The
Pirates movies look great.
Oh, they do.
Prometheus.
Yeah, he does a lot of late Scott. He's been with Ridley the Counselor. Yeah, he's doing Napoleon right now for Ridley Scott. He's really a Ridley Scott guy when you look at it here in the latter part of his career.
Right, so maybe not great, but listen, he's a good cinematographer.
He's no
Deakins, but
he's no Deakins. That's the downgrade. Hildur Gudnadottir is the picks up the baton and does the score here. I remember, again, the score felt good, but it felt like a little bit of a retread of the first, and
I wanted to rewatch it. I didn't have a chance to, but I still might, even though
I went back and I watched
the episode's over.
Some clips of it, and then it all kind of clicked in my head again, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I don't like this movie. Because again,
I just think those two characters are so compelling.
No, they are. Like Garver and Alejandro are such an interesting pair. But that was the thing too about Sicario Day of the Soldado, is like people didn't know if it was a sequel or a prequel, but then it is a sequel. Sheridan writes it. Who's the director of that? It's Stefano Sollima, who did, I mean, what has he done?
Not a ton of American stuff.
Yeah, his last, he follows this up with Without Remorse, which is a bad movie, and I have a review actually of that up on the website at AwardsWatch.com.
Sheridan produced that one, didn't he?
I think so. I want to say so. Let me check. No, he co-wrote it. He co-wrote it again. He co-wrote it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan produced it. That movie is also. That movie has Jamie Bell trying to play the Josh Brolin character in this, and that movie is a fucking mess.
What do you think is motivating Josh Brolin's character in this movie?
That's interesting. That's a good question. It's not. You would think it would be Alejandro, right? On the surface, right? They've worked together. What happened to his family? Kind of is a little bit to a certain extent. without actually saying it. Other than maybe just being a guy that, I know that this sounds very cliched to say, very film bro thing to say, but kind of just a guy that wants to watch the world burn. Kind of just like guy that,
He had to at one point have been very sincerely into the cause, though. At some point, I just feel like at this point he knows that it is just so circular.
I think
he
that
has this calmness to him and this almost disinterest.
I think he's also just slimy, and he loves.
I also think he likes the status.
I think he likes the status. I think that there's a sense of comfortability that he has.
Yeah.
Right.
The private jet.
The private jet, the flip flops, the taking the naps, the nonchalantness, the smoke and mirrors. He's enjoying this. He enjoys being able to just have essentially a blank check, a blank slate to do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to make sense, because that's the beauty of it.
They actually get a lot more into the bureaucracy of his role in the second one, which I think is interesting. With Catherine Keener.
Yeah, but then you sort of you take the mystique away from him. I think that that's what makes this movie so great about him, is that you don't fucking know who he is.
Remove the mystery. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. That movie's not nearly as good as this movie.
No, that movie's also trying to.
I think
the movie's trying to explain a lot of this movie, and I'm like, I don't want you to explain it. I want you to follow it up. I wanted maybe a different screenwriter, but I think that there's stuff you could have gone further with it. And if you are going to look into the Alejandro character more and go down that rabbit hole, which is never a good idea. It's never a good idea to just go give a supporting character his entire film.
Yeah, it's like making a show about Boba Fett.
It's like making a sequel to Silence of the Lambs. Don't do it. God, that was just a dumb idea. But if you're gonna do Hannibal, have you ever seen that one? You've seen that one from Ridley, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a bad movie.
That movie is so dark.
Yeah, the book's wilder. Have you ever read the book?
No, that was a movie. That was a book that was written after the movie, after Silence of the Lambs, the movie, right?
So, yes. So, Silence of the Lambs, big book hit, wins Best Picture, all that stuff. He's writing the
Hollywood
book.
Says more, please,
more, please. But he, especially we want another book.
It's like you gotta keep world.
Yeah, and so he wrote the book. Book releases. It's almost like simultaneously, the studio's reading the novel as they're doing it. They tried to get Demi and they tried to get Foster back.
They read it and were like, absolutely not.
So they got the next best thing: Ridley Scott and Julianne Moore.
I mean,
Julianne, I'm sorry.
Good on paper.
I'm sorry. You love Julianne Moore. I love Julianne Moore.
Not
Eric,
good in that movie.
No, she's bad in that movie. That movie's, but also that movie's just.
There's stuff in it though.
Yeah, like Oldman.
Oh God! I mean, one of the most despicable characters in movie history.
But you watched the Hannibal TV show, right?
I've watched half of it.
Okay, so the stuff in Hannibal is actually adapted and brought into the Will Graham storyline, which is very interesting. The way that Fuller, it almost is okay, so Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, great books, and then the Hannibal and the Hannibal Rising stuff, very divisive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way the television starts kind of lingering all the lore together makes it's like a course correction for everything that Harris wrote, but then making it plausible for an audience to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth season, which never happened, what was supposed to be was they were going to have
Silence of the Lambs.
They were going to have Silence of the Lambs sort of in the back half of the series, but it was going to be Clarice's first mission was actually to find Will Graham and Hannibal, since they've been on the run.
And I heard it was supposed to be Saoirse Ronan.
No, I heard it was going to be they wanted a black actress to play it in an unknown, because they didn't want somebody of a name to because that's such a horrible. And the biographer said no, and NBC declined, and then we got that stupid Clarice Starling television show on CBS that lasted like 6 episodes.
There is nothing that will assure that a TV show is bad than it airing on CBS.
Yes.
A procedural on CBS.
It doesn't even help that, like, I think that the first episode played after the Super Bowl, nobody watched it. Nobody gave a shit.
It's tough.
Much like this thing with its sequel. Shit. A television series about this would be kind of interesting. You think Sheridan would adapt it? He's got all the power at Paramount right now.
Can we talk Sheridan?
I was going to say, that's the segment, the segue into Sheridan.
Taylor Sheridan is now like one of the most important people in Hollywood.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
I am not giving a value judgment at this point, but I'm just saying, how weird is that?
He's got like 900 projects. He's like the cowboy version of Ryan Murphy.
Have you watched Yellowstone?
No. And I get made fun of a lot by Tyler and Eric when I made predictions last year about it. I did not make any Emmy predictions for it this year, and it didn't happen. But that is a show fucking everybody I know watches.
Everybody watches it.
And I don't have the time, I guess, to watch it. Do you watch it?
But also, so it's weird because everybody watches it. But I would say kind of in our Twitter sphere, you never see anything about it.
No, it's the most popular thing, and yet nobody talks about it.
The ultimate divide between kind of two different worlds. It's so interesting.
It is for your dad.
It is Red State Succession.
Correct. Because I guarantee you most people that have seen Yellowstone have not watched Succession. Maybe. It's two different worlds. Well, I would think it's also like it started off on like Paramount, which Paramount Network, right? So it was
something like that. Was it on History Channel at some point?
I don't know. But it was on TV. It was on regular, like just basic kind of cable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Costner factor helps. People love Costner. I like Costner a lot. But yeah, I think it's also like it's a highly dramatized soap opera, family dynamics, very Dallas expired, but yet not as campy, And but yeah, no, Sheridan then after this becomes huge because then he has,
and this is his first screenplay.
Wow. Imagine your first screenplay getting in there, huh? And then it's his first screenplay. He had directed a film called Vile.
Like a horror movie?
Yeah, I think it was it follows 10 kidnapped captives who have 22 hours to mount an escape from a locked room and must endure excruciating pain in order to win their freedom. Yeah, wonderful. So that was his first film. That was in 2011. He does Sicario. He then writes Hell or High Water.
Probably his best screenplay.
Easily his best screenplay, in my opinion. Easily. It's a good movie. Then he does Wind River.
It's tonally different from his other stuff.
Movies. but very much in line with everything else too.
Yes. Philosophically, it is very much of a piece with his other stuff.
Yeah. I think Bridges, Pine, Foster. Ben Foster's so fucking good in that movie. It's ridiculous. Wind River.
What a drudge.
Not a fan?
There's a lot of stuff to like in it, but it's so nihilistic.
Yeah. It's too much.
I was really looking forward to it because I was like, oh, here we go. Elizabeth Olsen, is now
Renner.
going to be like a huge movie star. Let's do this.
Renner.
And my man Bernthal.
Yeah. And that's the stuff in the movie that, if we're going to talk about a controversial movie, Wind River's got a ton of it walking around. And
yeah, that the stuff with Bernthal is a little icky.
It's rough. Then Sicario, Day of the Soldado, Without Remorse. He writes both of those. His follow-up directorial film is in 2021 as well, and that's Those Who Wish Me Dead. Remember that? We talked about that one.
Perfectly fine.
It is a fine film.
That does not feel like it has his stamp on it whatsoever.
No, that feels like, well, it's an adaptation of a book. The author's co-writing the screenplay with a third guy with Sheridan. It felt just like a movie you dump on Max, right?
It feels like a gun for hire kind of movie.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of movie that I want to see more of.
Yeah, those
mid-budget movies for grown-ups.
Like fun. Yeah. But I mean, it has one thing in it that I love that I wish was in more movies, which is Angelina Jolie, who I think is a great movie star. And I wish she was in more stuff because I just miss her.
John Bernthal.
Bernthal's in it for like what? 4 scenes?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's like
some scenes.
He's got some scenes, but not enough. But then, of course, 2018 is when it really hits for him. He's got Yellowstone, The Last Cowboy, Mayor of Kingstown, 1983, Tulsa King.
Is Mayor of Kingstown
1883
the Jeremy Renner one?
No, yeah, Mayor of Kingstown is the Jeremy Renner one. Tulsa King's the one with Sylvester Stallone. 1883, right. I'm sorry. In 1923.
Yeah, now they just get Harrison Ford to be in these Yellowstone prequels and Helen Mirren.
Yeah, and they got like what? Sam Elliott and Tim McGraw and Faith Hill for the other one.
Oh, there's another Yellowstone prequel coming out.
Yeah, which one?
Lawman, Bass Reeves,
David Oyelowo, Dennis Quaid.
Damn.
Barry Pepper. Oh, Barry Pepper.
I love a pinch of the pepper.
Pinch of the pepper. Yeah, and then he's got Special Ops Lioness, which is the
that's the Nicole Kidman thing.
Nicole Kidman, Michael Kelly, Morgan Freeman, and Zoe
Saldana.
Yeah. Which I've heard.
The dude just gets stuff made.
I heard it's
not Paramount.
I've heard it's not good, but what the hell do I know?
It doesn't look good. And so this is kind of the watering down of Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was one of the most distinct screenwriting voices. And now he's gotten so successful that his stuff starts to feel anonymous. I kind of want to give Yellowstone a shot.
I don't.
I kind of do.
No, that means I have to buy it. That means I have to buy Paramount Plus.
I have Paramount Plus via my father-in-law.
That is not surprising, given your father-in-law's taste in films. The man is a wild man when it comes to.
That's where I watched Sicario. It's on Paramount Plus.
That's where you watched because of your father-in-law.
I thought I had a 4K of Sicario. I was wrong. It was a Blu-ray, and it was not Region 1. It was a British Blue.
Wow.
So
how did you get that?
I think the only way the Steelbook came was from England.
British, no.
And you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. That happened to me one time. I bought a movie like that, and then you put it in, and they're like, it doesn't work. And you're like, shit. Well, this is just
but it was on P Plus. So I watched it on P Plus.
P Plus. That's what we're calling it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Glad to know that.
It's just Taylor Sheridan is such an interesting figure.
He's an interesting commodity. I mean, he's mostly writing the same damn thing, though. Can we say that? It feels like it's almost the same shit.
Well, he's doing this like new American frontier stuff. Yeah, that's his whole thing.
Is it interesting?
I think it was interesting.
Do you think now it's oversaturated?
I just think he's too.
He's got He's got 5 shows going on right now.
Yeah, I think he stopped doing it.
He's a
If he has 5 shows going on right now, that means he's wearing himself too thin.
He's a factory.
He is a factory.
He is like
exactly what he is doing.
Again, he's
You're
like
right. Ryan Murphy was the right comparison.
Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
Like these people that are in 900 projects.
Tyler Perry.
Yes. Who else?
Who is in Those Who Wish Me Dead?
Yes, he is. That's right. But he works with everybody. Works with him.
Everybody works with him.
Everybody likes him. Seems like easy things to do. Easy sets. They are adult dramas that don't get made anymore, but they're made on a big budget, and they probably get their quotes because he works with Paramount Plus and Paramount, so he gets on a streaming service budget. And a
lot of people are very much not a fan of him because, again, I think he makes morally.
I think he makes stuff for Republicans, and I think that's why people.
I don't think that's true.
Most people that watch that stuff.
Hell or High Water is not that at all.
No, but nobody watched Hell or High Water in theaters. Nobody saw that movie.
And Wind River is not a movie for anybody.
Wind River is just a thing that exists.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Yeah, I'm talking more. I guess his television stuff is what I'm saying. His television stuff leans more towards.
It leans more that way because it's about
older generation, yeah, and it's older stuff. And
I don't think it's politically. I haven't seen Yellowstone. I don't know, but
you
haven't seen it either, so you can't speak.
I've seen clips. To it. I've seen clips.
Nah, I don't. I just don't.
There's a clip that goes around.
We cannot say that. On the surface, it certainly seems that way.
There's enough people that also have seen it and said it, so it's not like I'm speaking out of turn either, you know. But
I don't know. I just think that's such a lame way to look at art.
I understand, but I think his screenplays are much more interesting and challenging. I like this is not like we've talked about it. Sicario is not a politically leaning film whatsoever. I think when he's sticking to the moral gray is when he's really interesting. I think Hell or High Water is also that. It's very interesting. Very, again, what's the right thing to do if you're a lawman? I think like the stuff with Bridges is so fascinating in that movie. I do think that, but also too, he's probably that the stuff that he does there, like Yellowstone, is probably going to lean a little bit more right because those people are rich and they live out in the country and, they're dudes, they're very rich. They're like, they own like all this land.
But that's like a chicken and the egg situation.
It's like Succession. All those people are pretty much Republican, on that show. Like in terms of like the characters. I'm talking about the characters.
Yeah, but that's not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you don't think Succession is a conservatively leaning.
No, I mean people. No, but people do get.
Show.
No, it's not. But people do see that, and there is the frustration of like you're rooting for characters, yet these are the worst people on the planet, and these are probably people that don't have your best interest. Like if you watch Succession?
No.
Okay.
I've watched like 5 episodes. I don't know how I watch stuff and then just stop.
Why do you do that?
I don't know because I am like, oh well, that was 2 movies worth of content.
But then you're the completist when it comes to a filmography. You're like, I gotta watch 95.
I don't know what to tell you.
Robert Altman movies. TV's different. Yeah, it's inconsistency, but it's okay. I'm not judging you. I'm just curious. That's all. It's a curious thing to do.
It is. It's a very weird thing that I do.
But
I wish I was better.
I'll tell you this: no one of our generation has told me to watch Yellowstone. At least to me.
But
it's always been my parents.
So many.
It's always been my parents.
5 times as many people, 10 times as many people that watch Yellowstone as Succession.
Correct. Because it's
which is just crazy.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, true. They're popular. They're popular things.
The discourse, the online discourse, you wouldn't know it. Sharon's just an interesting cat.
Yeah, but I guarantee. But I'm sure they both have value. I mean, Succession's great. I've never seen Yellowstone, but
A lot of people say
people won't
Yellowstone is very
people
good.
won't shut the hell up about it. They
Yeah,
they love it
truly.
so much. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got Costner in it. How bad could it be?
I'm sure it's not bad.
I'm sure it's like a Western. I like Westerns. You like
Yeah,
Westerns?
I do.
I mean, if you're getting Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren in a prequel, it's got to be good, right? At least. I don't know. You got anything else about Sicario you want to talk about? I feel like there's a
Yeah, we can
ton.
talk plenty about Sicario. We never did our Benicio dive.
Oh my God, Benicio. What do you think about Benicio? You love him? Is he
I
one of
love
your guys?
Benicio.
I think he's one of my
I
guys.
don't know that he's full on one of my guys.
I think that when I see him in a movie, I'm like, damn, he's great.
His career recently has been very odd.
Let's do it.
So, I mean, so he kind of ingrains himself in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
Yeah, he's playing the well,
Collector.
I think like let's go back even further than that.
Let's go back.
So his first big
Where
credits are
Usual Suspects.
Let's go even before that because he's got an insane performance in a movie before The Usual Suspects. He plays one of the bad guys in License to Kill. Remember that?
He does.
He's incredible in that movie.
He's great in that.
He's incredible in that movie. He's also Duck in Big Top Pee Wee. If you've ever seen that,
I've not seen Big Top Pee Wee.
But then, yeah, Usual Suspects kind of breaks him on the scene, right? Works as
big time.
He's does a lot of films in between. 98, Fear and Loathing, but then 2000s is In the Way of the Gun, Snatch, and Traffic, which he wins the Oscar for.
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting is his career post-Oscar. He's mostly playing supporting characters, or he's in movies that you're just like, you're chasing.
They definitely tried to make him a movie star, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like 21
Wolfman.
Grams, Wolfman, Che, working back with Soda Pop again.
Mm-hmm.
Then he kind of goes into being...
Man, he's so good at Inherent Vice.
I was going to say, then he does he starts doing the Marvel stuff, but then he's got Inherent Vice, which he's incredible in.
Mm-hmm.
He does this Last Jedi, right?
Yeah, he was kind of in the Disney.
Is in the back pocket.
In my opinion, I'm kind of sleepwalking through these blockbuster roles.
I think he's kind of great in The Last Jedi, but that's just me. But no, his stuff in Marvel is just ridiculous. But he's getting a paycheck, so let him get his paycheck.
And now he's doing...
I think the last two things that he's done...
Dora the Explorer?
Well, he did that one. Yeah, he did that in 2019. That looks probably like it's a voice. It was a voice performance.
Yeah.
But then he did No Sudden Move with Soda Pop again.
Great movie. Just a really good movie.
Him and Cheeto just killing it in that movie.
And it was like, wow, we really have underserved these actors.
And then you know what he does a couple months later?
Little Dispatch in my favorite segment from the French Dispatch.
My second favorite segment of the French Dispatch. But
do you like the Jeffrey Wright one?
I do. I love that sequence. But he's phenomenal in the French Dispatch. And now he's doing this movie called Reptile, which will be at the Toronto International Film Festival. And it's his chance again to be a leading man. Film centered around him. It's a Netflix movie. But he also does Escape from Dannemora. He does some TV stuff as well. But I think he's just a fascinating presence, and yet we know nothing about him. And I think that's kind of cool about a guy that's, I mean, one of those just like, I just know that when he's in a movie and I see him there, I'm in a really good hands. And he's gonna, and yeah, you said that stuff about like his like Marvel stuff, or or even Star Wars about phoning it in. But when he's not doing stuff like that, he it doesn't feel like he's phoning it in at all. It feels like he's very committed to his craft. And puts it all in. And I think he's incredible in this movie. He's extraordinary in this movie because there's like that scene. It's the torture scene, right? And he just pushes his body up against that guy, right? Where
Yeah.
he's like standing over him.
And it feels like the most intimidating thing anyone has ever done to another human being.
I think it's one of the more claustrophobic scenes I've ever seen in a movie, period. It just feels so, you could feel the power that he has in that scene. And of course, what makes that scene also great too, Jay, is Brolin sitting over there on the chair or whatever.
He's like sitting
right
all the way. I think he's up on the table.
Yeah, he's like kind of like
Just
you know,
like totally sprawled out on the table, just sitting like a weirdo beach guy.
He's like, I thought you didn't want to talk. You know, oh, now you want to talk? You know, so
two guys great in Inherent Vice. Both Brolin's.
Oh man, I forgot about
ridiculously incredible in Inherent Vice.
Yeah, Brolin's nuts in that movie. Almost, wouldn't you say Brolin is bananas in that movie?
I would say he is bananas, Ryan. You are correct.
Maybe chocolate covered bananas.
Maybe. Maybe. But as I look at Benicio's filmography, I am kind of like,
it's a little underwhelming
there's
for an
not
Oscar
a
winner.
lot. There's not a lot here I love.
Yeah, I mean that Wolfman movie is.
Yeah, it's bad.
That movie sucks. Good makeup work though, but man,
and he's in these like uber serious movies in the 2000s.
Oh, 21 grams just kill me now. But I will say, I think that the last 3 years that he's done Escape from Dannemora and No Sudden Move and French Dispatch, I'm like, I want to see more. I want to see that from you more. Do more stuff like that. Work with really confident directors, visionaries that know what to do with you. Soderbergh, Wes Anderson, and obviously Ben Stiller's really good with television. So, you know, that and oh God, what was that one show that he did on Apple? The Apple show that he did. Crap, I can't even remember it, with Adam Scott. But yeah, he seems like he's doing the right things right now. But then I could be wrong.
We haven't even talked about his best movie,
which is
the TMZ video where he's with Terrence Malick.
I've never seen that. What is he doing that?
So
Severance, by the way. Severance was the show.
I guess he had dinner with Terrence Malick. And there's those stupid TMZ segments where the guy's voice is like, "Whoa, look who we found. The most elusive filmmaker around. Like director of The Tree of Life." And then they cut to the in-studio guys and everybody's like, "Who is that? What?" They're like, "He never comes out. But look, we saw him out in the wild." And then everybody's just like, "I don't know who that. I don't care. I don't care about this." And it's just very funny because Malick is kind of just like lurking in the background. Clearly, they were getting the paparazzi folks were there for Benicio, but for some reason, TMZ was really fixated on the fact that Terrence Malick was there. And he's just like in the background trying to make sure that nobody recognizes him or whatever. It's a very funny video. Highly recommend checking it out.
It's like just two people talking, then the guy's like on a different energy level, is what you're saying?
Well, it's the voiceover for TMZ.
What's up, man? Hey.
Whoa, who's that? Is that Terrence Malick? And there's just this disconnect between the audience.
I loved you in the Marvel movies,
and
Benicio.
The audience that would love Terrence Malick. It's just a funny little dichotomy. It's a great video.
Terrence, I just saw To the Wonder last week with my girlfriend down at the Cinematheque.
Terrence, you seen Barbie?
Terrence, what do you think of the Meg 2, The Trench?
Terrence Malick, I want to have dinner with that guy.
I feel like we got to do a Malick series.
It's my favorite filmmaker. I am always down.
Yeah, I think he would be an interesting conversation at dinner.
It's just a tough conversation to have. You can sound like an idiot real fast talking about Malick.
His movies are just him talking with him in general. Probably both.
Some of the only good narration.
Yeah.
His narration is so good.
I agree.
He should do a movie with Benicio.
Yeah, Benicio just stands at an airport and he films a bag floating in the wind or something like that, you know?
I bet it would be good.
Yeah. I bet you give it 5 stars on
Probably.
Letterboxd to be like, wow, that bag is the personification of our existence on this planet. Right? Doesn't he have like a religious movie coming out or something like that with
Supposedly a
Rylance?
Jesus movie.
Is it with Rylance, right?
Rylance plays the devil.
Oh, I
So
kind of want
to. He's being very understated, as
yeah.
he has been recently.
Yeah, you're not getting devil's advocate from Rylance. Though, what a turn it would be if that's what we got.
Oh, are you? No, he's like, he has stopped being subtle. He just does Bones and All and Ready Player One and
Wait,
freaking Don't Look Up.
you don't like Sully? Never done Sully.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, I think we've gone on complete tangent mode now, but anything else you'd like to say about Sicario before we wrap it up, buddy? Last things.
As I'm
Anything
looking
in your
here,
notes?
you know, I don't know. I mean, it's that final scene is so good, and I think it does kind of put you in Kate's mindset in a really fascinating way at the end, where there is this idea that she so badly wants to escape and kind of forget everything that she has done. One of my favorite lines in the movie is actually where she's smoking out on the balcony, and Benicio just says, "I avoid balconies for a while." I just think that's such a great line.
And then she's 20 seconds later, after he leaves on the balcony with the gun.
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite of what he's trying to say there in that moment. Is that I would avoid a balcony because you're probably going to get shot by somebody or being followed.
It is a fascinating film. It is such an experience, as immersive as it gets, pretty much. And I really love it. I love it. I don't consider it one of the great films of the 21st century like I once did, but it's a great movie.
I think it's a great movie too. I agree with you. I think that final scene, it goes from, I mean, he turns on Kate when he shoots her, right? Because he's like,
we haven't really talked about their relationship, but it's really interesting.
Their relationship it's honestly, at first, it's very tender.
He keeps bringing up that she reminds him of his daughter.
Yeah. But then I think that by the end, he's so consumed with the revenge that when he shoots her in the Kevlar, because he could have shot her in the head or whatever. He's
he's protective of her to a certain extent.
And he's kind of just like, stop trying to find answers. That's done. I'm doing this. So don't follow me or I will kill you. I think also too, we haven't actually talked really enough about the through line with the cop, which I think that's the final scene of the film, is the son waiting there for him to go to soccer and the mother there in the final shot of the gunfire in the distance, and that the sort of this world, maybe it does kind of answer what I was saying earlier, where it's like, no, this is going to continue regardless of if Diaz is here or not.
Sure. It's that's kind of the final.
Yeah, that's kind of the
underline.
Yeah, that all this stuff is really just superficial boy shit going on right here. The machine's not stopping just because someone at the top gets killed. But no, I think that it's ultimately just like, it's tragedy, but I don't think he does this persuasion with her to get her to sign it, right? And yes, he does pull out the gun, but it is the last effort to get her to just sign it.
But there is part of him that knows that it's better for her to just sign it too, as well as everybody
else.
Yeah,
it's weirdly protecting her, even though he's got a gun to her head.
He does do this weird thing in that scene where he kind of infantilizes her too. He kind of sees her. He says, "You look like a crying baby when you're sad or something."
Yeah.
And there is this really weird dynamic. That's actually probably the most interesting character stuff in the movie, is their stuff.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying I think that there's maybe a 1 scene or 2 scene thing missing from her for the fully to
Yeah.
For the whole thing to fully just be like, then I think it gets to that level you're talking about where it's like, oh, then this movie is one of the best of like the decade or whatever, because it's just missing one or two moments from them to really tie their loose thread together. But then
right.
I think that when she's pointing the gun at him outside, and I think that says everything there at that point. He's like, shoot me, don't shoot me, doesn't matter. And she's just,
yeah.
And she's just like, I can't.
And for him, there is also kind
I'm
of
broken.
this thing of, my task is complete. Honestly, you can shoot me. It's fine.
And honestly, I kind of deserve it.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm going to find
now
peace.
that his blind rage has kind of subsided, he is able to take a step back a little bit and for just a moment be like,
you're right.
You know what? Maybe I deserve this. Maybe this is the appropriate end for me.
But she's so broken.
Yeah.
At this point. I mean, I don't know where Kate goes as a character forward.
Could have found out in Sicario too.
Could have. But then again, I bet but Sheridan was like, no, thank you. And it would have been interesting.
I'll tell you where she probably is, working in an office.
Yeah.
She's just out.
I'm not going in the field anytime soon.
No, not even for the military. Not even for the FBI.
No.
She might have just quit.
She might. Yeah, she might have. Might have been like a teacher or something now.
Yeah.
She's not going out. She's not going out there. They broke her. And that's the tragedy of this.
Unfortunately, it pays to have firearm training as a teacher these days. I don't say that as a humorously, but
I mean, that's what some school districts want. God, honestly, that's probably one of the truer things you've ever said, and that's terrifying. But then, yeah, I think that final shot of like the soccer field and the stuff in the background, I think it's such a deflating moment, but it's also beautifully shot. Just kind of fades away.
It looks spectacular.
Spectacular. Deakins,
all the stuff he does,
Roger
from
Deakins.
Like the shots from under the plane, the helicopter shots, the immaculate landscape shots, the very claustrophobic stuff that you're talking about. It's the
tunnel sequence.
We didn't even talk about the tunnel sequence in his bag.
Just the tracking in the tunnel and going to the other side.
You know what part I love from that is, and I think I assume it was probably an accident, when Kate flips up her little night vision thing, and then it hits the top of the tunnel.
Yeah,
and you can see that she's like, "Oh, that wasn't really supposed to happen," and then she just kind of goes with it and takes it and puts it on her waist. That kind of stuff I think is so good.
Yeah. All right, Jay. That's Sicario. Before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based off the film we just reviewed, which was Sicario. And a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Jay, was this movie nominated for any Oscars?
So I actually have no idea. Like, generally, I have, for stuff that's this recent, I have some feel for it. For some reason, I just absolutely do not for this.
Okay.
I'm going to say Deakins got nominated.
You're correct.
I'm going to say it got some sound stuff.
Yes. That's one.
It only got one of them.
Yeah, that was still when we had the two categories. Now it's...
But it just got the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound editing.
Honestly, I would say that's it.
You locking that in?
I'm locking it in.
Sorry, buddy. You're wrong.
No.
You're one off. Got Best Original Score nomination.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because this is such a weird score.
It is a very weird... No, you're right. It is a very weird score.
I absolutely would have nominated it, but I didn't expect the Academy to nominate it. So that's awesome.
One of the big snubs of the morning was Benicio.
Was he expected to get nominated?
Well, he had gotten... Did
he get a Globe?
He got BAFTA nominated.
Mm.
He got... I don't think he got SAG. I don't think he got Globe, but he had BAFTA nominations. He had tons of critics pulls, tons of like critics nominations and a couple of critics wins, I believe. Yeah, he had like Chicago Film Critics Association win. He had I think that's it actually, but he had a ton of nominations across the board. He was the sneaky guy. Like the screenplay got nominated at the WGA. The movie got nominated.
I'm actually surprised this didn't. I would have guessed screenplay if I'd even thought of it, but I
The
didn't.
movie got nominated for the Producers Guild of America. It was the New York Film Critics Online Film of the Year. It was one of the top 10 films from the National Board of Review.
Oh, nice.
It was nominated for picture, action movie score, best actress in an action movie, and cinematography at Critics' Choice. It was up for the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It was everywhere, dude.
This was a big deal movie.
Yeah, Joe Walker got nominated for editing. Obviously, Deacon editing for the Guild for the American Cinematheque, the American Society of Cinematographers. They nominated Deakins. Art Direction Guild of America. This got nominated for contemporary production design. Dude, this movie was like the first, like, okay, Denis Villeneuve is making an awards type player, and it doesn't feel like an awards type player, which is kind of great about it, to be honest. But yeah, no, this thing was well within the conversation for a lot, but it only got the 3. I think I would have put it. I think I would have. It would have been close for a picture nomination for me.
Definitely a picture nomination for me.
That's
definitely a director nomination for me.
Well, this is back to that Carol year that we talked about with Kevin a couple weeks ago, where it's the Spotlight, Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max, The Martian.
Is Mad Max your favorite movie of this year?
Yes.
I think it is mine as well. Actually.
Oh, shit.
Black Hat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Over Mad Max?
I think that's a very insightful, incisive, technically revolutionary movie.
You know, Black Hat.
I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it recently.
I need to watch that. I still haven't watched the director's cut. I need to watch that.
He stabs a guy with a screwdriver in the throat.
He does. It's maybe awesome. One of the best things that's ever happened in the history of cinema. as far as what it represents. Are you
what
that movie is trying to say?
Are you a Chris Hemsworth guy?
I'm a huge Chris Hemsworth guy.
You bought that stock a long time ago, huh, buddy?
I did, and I don't know that it's ever going to pay out, but I think he's done great work. It just seems that the market, as far as him leading movies, I just don't know that. I think he's one of the few actors of his era who is a genuine action star.
He's also fun. He's also funny.
And he's so funny.
He's so
talented.
He's got the DNA of what you need out of a movie star for sure.
Yes, he does.
Good looking dude. Can work with a Michael Mann. He's good in like a movie like Rush.
He also seems like a good guy.
Seems like a good family guy.
Yeah. I don't know. He made that whole show about how he's predisposed for dementia.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Are they going to make it an Extraction 3? Probably.
I think so.
You want him to close out?
A lot of people watched Extraction 2.
You think you want to close out the trilogy, get that trilogy on a Criterion release?
Look, I'm down. There are worse movies in the Criterion collection. That is for sure.
Would you put Benicio in this supporting actor lineup?
Let's look. I just pulled it up here.
So Rylance?
We got Rylance, Bale, Hardy in The Revenant, Ruffalo. This is actually a pretty dang good supporting actor list. I would put Benicio. I'd put Benicio in though.
Who would you take out?
I guess Bale, even though I think he's good in that movie, but I'd put Bale in.
I'd take
Bale out.
Either Bale or Ruffalo.
Those were the two that I was going to say. Revenant, I think, is an okay movie. Hardy's really good in it.
He's really good in that movie. I'm not taking out Stallone for Creed. I think he's great.
Apparently, I'm the only one in the world who actually thinks Rylance should have won that Oscar, but he's incredible in Bridge of Spies.
I see. I need to rewatch Bridge of Spies because you know me, I was not the biggest fan.
And
of
you
it,
know
but...
me, I am the biggest fan of Bridge of Spies in America.
I know you are, but I also I love a lot of other performances from Rylance over the last couple of years. So maybe I'll go back and give it a try. I know I mean it might just be sour grapes for me because he beat Stallone as to why I haven't gone back to it. But it's I've been wanting to go back and watch some Spielbergs that I haven't seen in a long time, and that one's on the list.
Would you
I
put
think
Blunt in
for actress?
Yeah,
Sure, I'd take out Jennifer Lawrence and
Jennifer
Joy.
Lawrence for Joy.
Yeah, that's a layup.
Kind of sitting right there for you.
I might even take out Brie Larson for Room.
Oh, she's good in that. Come on.
I told you I'm not a fan of Room. I'm not a fan of that movie. By the way, if we ever do Tom McCarthy and we end up coming back to this, which we won't, but if we ever came back to this, the correct answer for Spotlight is either Liev Schreiber or Michael Keaton to be nominated over Mark Ruffalo. That if we're going to do a supporting actor,
Mark Ruffalo had the scene.
He had the scene, but yes, also
but my main man Tucci.
Oh, man, yeah, that's right, Tucci. That's probably Tucci. Tucci or Keaton. Keaton's great.
Keaton's amazing in it.
There's that scene where he's like, where the guy comes up to him and he's like, maybe Robbie, you brush this under. He's like, this how it goes. Guy leans on another guy, and all this is Washington. Such a good line. Such a good scene. Keaton, one of our greats. Talked about him, I think, last episode too.
He's in The Flash.
That's right. You watched that. To clarify from last episode, you did not spend the $20.
No, I did not. I have my father-in-law's iTunes login, and he buys basically everything.
Yeah, and so you're able to watch it for free.
I love The Flash.
Is that your worst film of the year so far?
No, Cocaine Bear is still and will remain. I hate that movie.
There would have to be an abomination to watch by the end of the year in order for that to change.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. I'm giving you an edit, but my headphone jack got out. Sorry, go again.
I was just gonna say you are here, let me do that again. So it'd have to be like an abomination in order for you to bump off Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure it's the worst DC movie of the year. Shazam was abysmal.
Shazam, yeah. What do you think of Blue Beetle?
Haven't seen it yet.
Hope it does
Not
well.
going to see it in a theater.
Hope it does well.
But I'll watch it eventually.
I'm hopeful for it. It's not going to do well at the box office, but I hope it does. So that I don't want.
Well, we will not be seeing the Blue Beetle again either way. So,
we sure about that?
Yeah, they're blowing up the DC universe.
I don't know what's staying, what's going. Hell, next week it could be totally different. You never know. All of it's all relative. Who gives a shit? Would you give Deakins the win? Here?
Oh boy. Yeah, I without looking at it, my immediate reaction is yes, of course. But
it's over Chivo for The Revenant.
I mean, I would give it the win over that. There's an argument for Mad Max.
Lockman,
just as far as
Lockman for Carol too.
Yeah, this is a good list.
Robbie Richardson for
The Revenant is a great looking movie.
Big Bob Richardson for
Hateful Eight is a really interestingly shot film. Again, I would throw Blackout on there because I think it's an achievement of digital cinematography, but I know that's not a popular opinion.
Who are you saying that to? Who are you saying that to right now?
I'm sorry. There's somebody that just got in the room and get out of here.
I think that's actually a perfect lineup.
That is a great lineup.
Maybe
Hateful Eight cinematography is really interesting.
Maybe Ex Machina could have gotten into this lineup. Rob Hardy's working. That's really great.
There's an argument for film editing. Although, again, I don't adore the interstitial scenes with the cop.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give it over Mad Max, but I would probably take out like Star Wars.
Yeah, sure.
Star Wars or shit, Hank Corwin's work in The Big Short is that stuff's mind numbing compared to this. Can't wait to do Adam McKay.
Do you like The Big Short?
I do.
I do too.
That's the
And
last one.
A not popular opinion, but I do.
I think it's because the Academy gave him the Oscar and it went straight to his head. And I think people see that as the point of no return for him.
Yeah, I agree.
And he didn't learn anything from that. And he hasn't learned anything since. So I hope, and the problem is like now Netflix is giving him $100 million or whatever to make Don't Look Up. And they're still nominating it.
Yeah.
Like he's making Network or something. Yeah, but that's problems near their hero there.
But that's all I would give it, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Good movie.
What an episode.
Jay, want to tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
Absolutely. You can find any work I'm doing over at awardswatch.com. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Letterboxd, just search J Ledbetter. That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, I didn't tell you there's potentially another sequel for Sicario in development.
Oh, yeah, I did see that was probably in development. I'm guessing that's out of date.
I guess that
has been nixed.
Would you have gotten Day of the Soldado Best Picture?
Yeah, win.
Okay, there you go. It's the right answer. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at AwardsWatch. If you're looking on those socials, you'll find all the other places I write for too. While you're on listening to this on your podcast app, if you're on Spotify or iTunes, go give us a 5-star review. 5 stars. We'd like it. I'd like to see those 5-star ratings. We greatly appreciate it. You can also go up on the website at awardswatch.com and sign up for our newsletter where you can get all of our great things that we post all on one roof. Gotta love it. And also, we will be back next week. We will be talking about Arrival for all you out there that want to follow along with us. You can stream that movie on Pluto TV, as well as also rent it on iTunes or Amazon Prime or any VOD platform. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.